Have you ever had a nightmare? A bog of pitch that forever humbles your ego? Have you ever had 900 mgs of caffeine in a single weekend? If you answered yes, you're either a masochist or a game jam enthusiast. My name is Cam, former game art student, current Final Fantasy e-girl, aspiring rat kidnapper. I want to make video games, and that takes time and effort. So now I live by injecting bang energy directly into my body to accelerate my game development growth and wither my remaining self-respect. What is a game jam, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you questioned it, because I need an introduction to this video. A game jam is a period of time where game devs crank out a game in under a time limit with mechanical restrictions. It's ill-advised to overscope your game because you need time to clean everything up. This advice was largely ignored. When the theme of wisdom was announced, I instantly realized how in the soup I was. Being wise implies not tacking things you don't need onto a simple game jam mechanic. My idea was a simple sentence. The more you get hit by things, the less damage you take from them. You're wise to its antics. I am very deep, cool, and sexy. I also had a gun model I've been working on, so I figured, let's add puzzle shoulder mechanics. I am clever. I am not wise. This was an awful idea. Realistically, the idea of get hit by thing to become immune to thing over time would have been a perfectly in scope idea, but alas, I'm ass. So what we're starting out with was a revolver model, a basic idea of the mechanics and theming, a passable knowledge of Unreal Engine 4 for video game creation experience. What we didn't have was the knowledge required to pull this off, any sort of clear vision on what this game would be. And to further soil my sandwich, on the Friday the mini jam started, I was out of the house for the entire day. My 72-hour game jam timer just got hit with a semi-truck, violently condensing it into 48 hours. I should have rescheduled, but mama didn't raise no coward and I refused to back down. This was happening this weekend, and I would consume as many 24-ounce White and Bust can Absolute Zero Monster Brand Energy Drink Cola Energy as humanly possible. With my newfound ability to see through time due to the sheer amount of 24-ounce White and Bust can Absolute Zero Monster Brand Energy Monster Drink Cola Energy, I foresaw what a nightmare this weekend would become. Minijam revealed the mandatory theme. Wait! Somehow, in some way, wait would be a required mechanic for this project. This was when the train got off the rails and never returned. I began my work as I took a sip of my 24-ounce White and Boss can Absolute Zero. So here was my full idea. A puzzle game, where you set your resistances to certain damage types, thus increasing your weight. As you know, wisdom is a burden, and I'm very deep and smart. You would use different bullets to solve these puzzles, one for each of the classical elements. I set about setting up the Trello to keep all my incredibly complex ideas in check. Once I set all 3 cards for my incredibly clear and well thought out ideas, I began work. Bullet swapping was easy enough. I used some VFX packs I had laying around that utilize Unreal's particle system. The HUD also just kind of worked. At a certain point, I learned how to use Unreal, and if anyone was watching when that happened, please tell me I wasn't there when it happened! Fire and water bullets were easy. Simple code for a simple man. Fire is just the default Unreal bullet with an explosion. Water is that, but heavier and less knockback force. Easy peasy baby stuff, which is good, because as you know, I'm baby. I did not even attempt Earth, because lightning bullets were among the worst ideas I've ever had. I wanted bomb chews. It would go up walls and stuff. That was a mistake. I decided to go about this by making a normal projectile that would burst into a newborn baby actor after committing suicide. I should explain. An actor is just anything that does anything in Unreal. A coin in Mario would be an actor, for example. So long as it has to execute code of some sort, it's an actor. I'm telling you this so I can ham-fist my way into the education section on YouTube and get that sweet ad revenue. This actor would then scoot along the ground, ray tracing in front of and underneath itself. It would move forward when the bottom ray touched something, and return to match the angle of the wall in front of it when the front ray touched something. What I failed to account for is that I do not know dot product math nor vector math, and in fact, failed to calc too because art student. This was out of my wheelhouse. But any difficult task is just an excuse to learn. I had this thing moving, and I had it turning, but if you asked me to make it climb a wall, you're sadly mistaken because it would rather ascend or become one with the void. I shit you not, I spent maybe 4 hours on this and eventually decided that no, I just had to die. It was either tracing its own steps backwards, which is impressive because I didn't even code that, or was hovering off the wall, somehow triggering the bottom ray when nothing was even there, and just there was no way for me to get this to work in time because for some ungodly reason, I couldn't get the chaser to follow up the wall. we have 2 other bullets I can work with. We can still make that work. The theme of the game jam was weight and wisdom, but the true nature was sacrifice. Like the kings of old, I cut this problem in half and returned it once more into the abyss of my brain. I then moved on to puzzle mechanics and damage resistances, and that just kind of worked. Something in this godforsaken nightmare of a project functioned as it should. The first was a switch that, upon receiving damage, would activate. This was incredibly simple. Unreal has a node called Event Any Damage, which fires when... I'll give you a second to guess this. Fires when the object takes damage. Shocking. It was a simple toggle and a material swap. Want one that deactivates after a certain amount of time? Bim bam boom, delay node, baby! Next up was a simple cube and button. So I opened Portal, copy, paste, boom. Buttons. Then finally, the elemental sprayers. These were both shockingly easy and shockingly hard. Basically, I had to wire up the particle systems alongside a hurt box and a force box, and then only enabled these 2 things when the sprayer was enabled. But wait! How do all these disparate elements talk to one another? Interfaces, baby! So now you're probably asking, what is an interface? Well, I'm glad you asked, my little PogChamp. An interface is almost like a bridge, where you can basically say, hey, when this happens, call this function in the interface. It's a shared set of common things that groups of things can do. So I made one for the puzzle pieces, in which they can be enabled or disabled based off of various criteria. That's how it all connects to one another. So alright, we're halfway into day 1. What do we have? 2 working bullet types, basic puzzle mechanics, damage resistances, jump pad. You are now free to move about the level creation suite. Minijam doesn't forbid the reuse of code or the use of pre-bought assets, and I am rushed and not stupid. I downloaded a grayboxing tool and got right to work. However, this is where we reached the biggest issue with my whole idea. I'm trying to run through this in my head. I've never really designed puzzles before. And I realize now the folly of how I have designed this game around puzzles. Alright, this wasn't fully thought out. We're taking the emergency option. My ape ass, my absolute sub-crab brainlet boy brain didn't realize that you probably want to know how to actually make a puzzle to make a puzzle game. And what's more is that the only puzzle game I've ever actually liked is Portal. I've got such a goopy goblin gamer brain that I'm basically happy if it has loud music, surface level gameplay, and shiny particle effects. Unfortunately, this makes me the target demographic for Overwatch, and even worse, greatly delays my ability to complete this jam. I closed day 1, disheartened, disheveled, but still very sexy, I assure you. Day 2 rolled around and I thought to myself, maybe the nihilists have a point. I hit Control-A, delete. It was all gone, reduced to atoms. It was time to enter the hell period. Crunch. It's time to start making compromises, cause is time running out. Alright, what do we got? Things that hurt and push you, a bullet, a gun, and a basic understanding of Unreal. We can also adjust resistances. And then it struck me. An overwhelming sense of calm. I'd expected perfection within 48 hours. A product out of a game jam instead of one hyper-focused idea. A calm washed over my body, pushing out my own insecurities. This would suck, and would be garbage. But it would be my garbage. And despite being garbage, this sparked joy. And so it was time. Time for the sprint to the end. Nothing is perfect, and nothing ever will be. And you have to be some chest-pants-wearing dork named Percival to be expecting that from a game jam game. It was time to construct the hallway of our dreams. Instantly, it was time to learn how to use the dreaded Unreal Cinematics tool. Doors have to open, assets have to move, and it was shockingly easy. What was hot as hell is the fact that I could just rig it up to the existing puzzle infrastructure. Do you know how nice that is in the 11th hour? That feeling of... I knew well enough this would work. It generally gave me the big okie dokies in my Kokoro. Speed was of the essence, and that was obscenely important because I was no longer creating an experience. I was creating a tech demo, and it was functional. Everything I could do with the basic mechanics would need to be explored. Button pressing, glass, switches, the sheer force of the wind itself. I created 5 rooms and explored it all in depth. I whipped up a couple of textures to help direct the player's eyes, and let chat suggest one. That was a mistake. 10 p.m. rolled around, and I'd been going for a huge chunk of that 48-hour period. I had work the next morning. I had Calbus the next morning. But more importantly, I had this right now. With our win conditions set with the same level of polish as a certain high-future science fiction video game on the PlayStation 4, I hit build. And as the text scrolled by warning me that my game was created by hordes of underpaid, unwashed, and overworked interns, I felt a sense of pride. I had done it. I had created a Game Jam game. I had navigated my first Game Jam. Solo. The end product was nowhere near what those 3 goddamn Trello cards from 10 minutes ago described, but it was still here, and still done. I had time to reflect. This was my first Game Jam since college, and that's giving a lot of space between jams. I need to learn more Unreal. I need to learn about event dispatchers, C++, what it means to love, and more importantly, I need to learn more game design. I need to spend more time on the art of designing the game, as well as building the skills designed to properly execute on that design. But it changed the entire direction of this channel. We're game developers now, baby! Anyway, now that the game is uploaded, let me just check the comments. Fuck!
You all know the time. Thank you, friend. It is coming down to the wire. But it wouldn't be a game jam if it didn't. I have learned a lot, so even if I DNF, I think it's still worth it. What's going on? It's the end of the game jam. And there's no guarantee we finish.